Okay, so first things first. Storm had a silver costume. There is no debate. Jim Lee has said it. If you look at the way they color her costume, this is the great cover, by the way. Thank you. Name I can't read. Look at the way they colored Colossus compared to the way they color Storm. She has a silver suit. Why have they not given us a silver suit? Hell if I know. Okay, moving on. The debate of that is over. Now, we're going to compare these two figures because obviously it's going to be hilarious. Marvel Legends versus an actual, you know, money-worthy figure. When this did come out, though, I have to say, they put it out in the two versions, the white and the black, because there was the whole fan debate about, oh, which one is... It's silver. We know it's silver. Okay, thank you, Jim Lee, for clarifying many, many times over the years. So we're going to compare the Hasbro art, or the Hasbro figure, to the Mafex figure of Storm. There's a lot of obvious differences just looking at them, but let's go ahead and get it all out of the box before... Let's look at the box, actually. We have some nice Jim Lee art. We also have... I can tilt that up. Look, Jenny Frozen art in the background. Jim Lee thumbnail thingy here. Some more Jim Lee art. It's the same one. Okay, so clearly designed after the Jim Lee Storm figure. Or Storm design, I guess. You have two, whoops, bye. You have two of these little plastic thingies. This one carries her and all of her accessories. This is instructions, I'm sure. And this is her little attachable pieces for hands. I should note, first off, these hands come from the first appearance Storm. I couldn't say why they gave it blue lightning. I also can't really say why they sorry, the paint all over my hands. Why they opted for not coloring the lightning up her fingers. You see that it's molded there, but it just looks like a cat chewed on it or something because they didn't bother coloring it. Not great, but whatever. Hasbro is as Hasbro is and will continue to be shit. We have a stand, which is another one of these fun things that I can never figure out. And two sets of lightning hands. One is just a hand, one is, looks like attachable lightning parts. We'll have to see where those go on her. Going ahead and getting the main figure out, hopefully not using any of the hand parts. Okay, Mafex is really great that they've been giving these little connectors with the hands so that you don't have to worry about losing them as much. Really, really helpful. We obviously have fists there. This is the grabby hands or possibly force lightning hands. We have two sets of loose hands. I wonder where that goes. There goes a head. Okay, so this is like the fingers arc in different directions, I guess. So that's what these two sets of loose hands or open hands. That's this is a loose hands, I think, versus grabby hands. Okay. She does come with two spare heads. We have the mouth closed on the figure that it comes with. And on the two spare heads, you have angry battle face and you have mouth parted face. Looking at the... She's got like a tiny fleck of something on her forehead there. I can't get it off. Shit. There we go. Looking at the faces. We don't even have to look at that other one for the moment. Whoops. Pardon my chaos. Maybe we can't compare those. Let's just take it and compare it. Let's do this. Really interesting. I'm trying to get her untangled. Oh, it's this tape. This tape on there is getting stuck to Hasbro Storm. Let's get these plastic bits off too. Why am I having such an issue with these plastic bits? Woo! Woo. Anyway. I don't know why I'm just struggling with them so much recently. Plastic in her leg. Get all this excess plastic out of the figure joints. I swear this used to be way easier to do with Mafex. Maybe I'm thinking about SH Fig Arts. I probably am, actually. All right. Now that she's deplasticed, let's start our little comparison. These two heads are the closest corresponding heads, so let's start there. I feel like the obvious thing, is there's not a whole lot of solidity in this Storm's neck movement. It's very easy for this headpiece to kind of flop back down when you try to face it downwards, because of course the hair prevents really any upward head movement. Not a whole lot of difference here, let's be honest, but she can look down a lot easier. It doesn't feel like the hair is just going to flop back down. Speaking of the hair, let's look at the coloring. The way that Marvel Legends kind of does theirs is very much reliant on multiple tones of color, making up one color, kind of, I guess you would say, in a similar way as comic books do. This one, let's turn on this light. There we go. The Mafex Storm, which is this one, does not do that. They have one solid shade of color around her whole head. They do the classic leaning towards blue to portray gray, which is honestly kind of where we get the whole problem with Storm's suit. The people debating about the colors, because you didn't really actually put silver in the comic ever. It never shined like that. So, looking at the front of the face, looking at the front of the face, you have a lot of different proportions, which I think it's probably accurate to say that the face has more comic proportions on Hasbro's figure versus more humanoid proportions on the Mafex figure. They both have their little earrings, but as you can see, the Hasbro figure's earrings are very much messier. They're also, in her hair, you can see that really thick seam, which you do not have in the Mafex figure. Like on both sides there's no seam, whereas she has a very thick seam through there. Let's see, what else can we look at? The eyes. The features I wish were a little bit stronger on the Mafex one, but I think if they had tried to overdo it, it would have ended up looking really poorly. So this is probably the best combination of contrast skin tone they probably could have gotten for that. This is obviously a very dark-skinned Storm. I do want to say that the Mafex one looks a little bit more lifelike. Moving on to her costume, you can see so many differences just here on the front. Starting with the cape, you can hear it, the difference. This is a very thin, almost plasticine paper, whereas this one, that is legit fabric. There is no underwire or wiring really in the cape for the Mafex one. But let's be honest, where would you wire it to anyway? Because she puts her arms up and it goes up with her. So I think we're good. We do have obviously double jointed elbows, all that classic good stuff that Hasbro can never, because look, they didn't. The shoulder pits here. Also, I think the most obvious thing we have, while they did give a little bit of a nicer pearlescent tone with the white on this Hasbro Storm, overall, you know, the coloring was more accurate on the Mafex Storm. I also want to say that the body type is more accurate. If you kind of look at how that goes out, she looks like she's been wearing spandex. She looks like she's been going to the gym. So they both have these funny little sleeves. The Hasbro kind has been used over and over again for different molds and different toys and figures. So this feels very refreshing, just because it's not the exact same Hasbro billowy sleeve they always use. It's not Hasbro. Obviously the gold compared to the yellow is a major plus. And we do get some movable bits here on her costume. I think even her wrist bits, they spin a little bit so you can adjust where her cape goes. Oops, I just knocked her wrist off. Whoops, look at that. We're learning things. Okay, so the hand comes off, the cuff, and then you have this little bit. The cape looks like it's held to the cuff by the hand. That's good to know. Let's put this back together so that we can actually hold her. Okay. Okay, there we go. Little bits. You can also see down here, while they did not give her the thigh cut that I'm always waiting for female figures for any... I mean, I guess Hasbro does it, but it's not the thigh cut. It's the calf cuff that I'm waiting for. Why do I always get those mixed up? I don't know. She has no thigh cut or calf cut, but she does have the kind of pearlescent legs versus the more pure white body. The belt is mobile. The wrists are somewhat mobile, as we just saw. And then, of course, these pieces on her shoulders, the shoulder pads, are also somewhat mobile. They're not attached in the front like most import figures. They just have the ball peg attaching it in the back, and you can see under there that she also has the butterfly arms, the kind of petite version. Compared to the Hasbro version, doesn't have the butterfly arms. This thing is attached at the front instead of the back, so it really doesn't get out of the way at any point. Nothing here is mobile, reused parts everywhere. And then let's go down here and compare the feet, because I was just trying to stand this storm up before the video and just stopped because her feet do not really get her to stand in any way. Also, look at that. That's a fun little gap between her chest bones. Thanks, Hasbro. Her feet don't bend kind of upward the way that they should to properly get her to stand. Not worried about that anymore. Whereas here we have, if that's not enough for you, boop, now you have the toe. So let's see if she can stand better, just to test it out. Who am I kidding? Of course she does. Let's, dun, dun, dun. That was literally one try. Now, for the review's sake, I'm obviously gonna see what the heck is up with this. So one thing I was looking at this figure and trying to figure out is this piece. Something that this goes over is what we need to find. Does it just attach to her wrist peg and becomes... Is that really what it's for? Because that's all I can think of. It doesn't stay on there properly, so I don't think it's meant for her wrist pegs. Because that would be kind of weird anyway, let's be honest. So where does this go on her body? That has some kind of peg part. I mean, I can stick it on her hair, kind of. That this can go over. Is it one? It's got to be one of her hands. Let's see. Let's see. So grabby hands, nothing on them. Nothing on these, although no, it's still too small. Fisticuffs. Nope. Oh, here we go. All right, we found it. So these grabby hands have little pegs on them. So they've given us now, okay, so we can compare shooting out of the hand versus coming out of the fingers. That's kind of cool. I prefer this, not gonna lie. So let's put this one on. Let's see, the thumb, that means it's this hand. Be very careful with these pieces because obviously that comes all the way off. If for whatever reason you don't want it on there. And then, oops. Don't put toys in your mouth, kids. All right. Yeah, bitch, got it. Let me find one of those heads, too. I want to give her angry head. No, let's give her the mouth parted head. She looks cool and calm while she's messing you up. Oh, shit. Please don't break. Please don't break. Thank God. I cannot be the only one who's terrified when I pull off my Mafex heads. The hair is also far more firm than the Hasbro hair. Yes, it does mean that you can't... God damn it, it's one of these things again. So since you have the neck peg and the like head peg here separately, they both move independent of one another, this one and this one. So that makes it really hard for putting the head back on, in my experience. Try to line it up based on the peg hole. Oh, we did it. Almost knocked her over, but we didn't do it. Okay. So I think I've made my point abundantly clear at this point. That's the most chest hole you see on this Storm figure versus... I mean, I don't know how many more points I could make. That Hasbro, if Mafex got a deal with, like, Walmart or Amazon even, like, Hasbro would be over. Marvel Legends, to be specific, would be over. And just look how much better her little shoulder pads sit than the Hasbro one, just because they're mobile in the front, which is where they need to be mobile and not in the back, like the Hasbro one. It looks so much better. And even the, I have the Vampirella, I didn't have all of them on pre-order, but the Vampirella is one of them I have on pre-order from Loose Collector, right? And this figure is making me feel a lot better about Vampirella's outfit on that figure. Obviously different creators and everything, but Vampirella has kind of the lines that go down the front, and seeing how it looks on this figure, it looks a lot better than I would have pictured, that even if it's just one line versus Vampirella's two thicker lines. But it's made me feel a lot better about how they could make that work. So I'm excited for that Loose Collector Vampirella and Red Sonja, and probably more especially Purgatory, because she's my bitch. The last thing that could probably be worth going over here. Oh, look at that. Her foot says Marvel. Good for her. I really don't think that there is anything else to go over here, actually. Her joints are all great. She's got this fun little six-pack, which, you know, is super cool. And far more... I feel like it's far more of a realistic body than this one. I don't know. I guess to each their own opinion, but that's what I think. I can't believe how much more I prefer her sleeves. And it's so nice to have her double jointed so she can touch her head and be like, oh, Scott, why are you such an idiot? I gotta take over the team now, even though I don't have powers. God damn it, Scott. Bzz, bzz. Like, if you know the reference. Anyway, where's her other head? That's the first head. That's the other head. I'm not going to bother putting the other hands and parts on because we can kind of see how that would all go. This shoots out of the hands versus out of the fingers, which is, frankly, a really cool accessory to have. And then she has her multiple faces. Why would you want a smiling Storm face? It's a great question. You don't. You want the bad bitch who shows up in all of these things. And I feel like that's what they gave us here.